And in Mr. B, you consider yourself educator and
Yeah.
an entertainer.
Yeah. Well.
Now, so can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, the educated part is because I do have a degree in
Duh.
music education, but I also teach seminars to schools. I work at a lot of preschools in the area. The State Department's preschool, the Health and Human Services Department's preschool, NIH and Rockville's preschool, the Treasury Department's preschool, plus Children International preschools all around. So I do about 11 or 12 preschools a week.
Right.
Hour to 3 hours at each preschool. And I teach the staffs. I have a seminar called The Proud, Productive, Professional, and Playful Child Care Worker, because it's got to be a job of passion. You know, it's not like going to work anywhere else. You're working with humans. You're working with little children. It's a big influence what you give them, and you have them 8 hours, 9 hours a day in their primary years. So you really have to be passionate about working with kids, and you have to be playful. You know, and you have to leave whatever's not going to be passionate or playful, you got to leave it outside. So I teach seminars to staffs on how best to bring the child professional out of them.
Got it. And now, have you found, because you know, we always know music.
Right.
I can learn something to music that I normally wouldn't be able to learn. So I'm sure, have you found that in children that they respond better, they retain it, and things like that?
What they actually, you know, children are the masters of play. A lot of us don't understand. Their job is to play. Some of them are good at it, some of them are great at it. Okay?
Right.
So everything has to be put in somewhat the form of play. Now, as a man, a lot of child care workers are women, but as a man, you have the advantage of a vocal tenor you can use. I can use playful tenors, and I can change my voice a lot of different ways, but if I ever want to, I think a child needs to hear something seriously, then I can just lower my voice a little, slow the pace of it down.
Yeah.
It doesn't intimidate them, it just lets them know that this is important. And that's how you kind of separate important from play with a child. But they have to be able to play with you.
Right.
You have to be able to play with them.
Now, do you find the children, they're pretty responsive, I
Yes.
know, to what you do, but they're kids.
Yes.
How do you keep them, you know, I know you can't keep them in place.
Right.
But I'm sure the music does that. What do you find that keeps them kind of orderly? That's the
You
word
have
I
to
think.
go where a child goes. I'll give you an example. I was telling a story one day, and I did a lion's voice. And opened up, I said, and the lion went, rah. And one little girl looked at me and said, "Hey, Mr. B, you got a tooth missing." You know, so now I could ignore that, or what I told her was that, well, you got tooth missing too, but you get a new one for free. I have to pay for mine. So I'm just saying, you have to be able to respond. There's a discovery in children. I deal with children of all ethnicities, and the discovery part of children is the most fascinating thing to me. You'll see a white child playing with a black child's hair. Now, it's discovery to a child.
Right.
As grown-ups, children are fine until we influence them. Now, we do have to influence them.
Right.
But my point is that if you let that moment pass, it's fine. Another quick example, I taught at one school, and there was a little guy named, I remember his name to this day, Keon. And Keon had his family was big Redskins fans. I'm from Philadelphia, I'm an Eagles fan. And he used to go to the Redskins games, wear the little jersey and everything. He was 3 years old. One day he bought in a Redskins magazine, and he had Deion Sanders on the cover. And he said, "Mr. B," and he looked at the magazine, looked at me, and he looked back at the magazine, he looked back at me. He said, "You're black like Deion." I said, "Yeah, I am."
Right.
And that was the moment, and you just move on. It's just the way things are brought out to children. They're going to discover them anyhow. It's
Right.
how we respond to that discovery that's important.
That's very true. Now, what age do you?
Well, most of the preschools, I do ages from 16 months to 6 years old. But now they also do live shows at elementary schools. So that's usually up through the 5th or 6th grade. And I've taught at group homes in Prince William County for several years. And those are teenage kids.
Yeah.
And you do drama programs with them. It's everybody. I do private lessons for grown-ups and small children in voice and piano and beginning string instruments too.
Okay. And now you also, I know that you play several different instruments, right? What instruments do you play?
I grew up as a saxophonist, alto saxophonist. In college, I took a couple years of upright bass. Then I also play percussions for a traveling chorus. piano, which is the standard. All your children should learn piano first. If they learn piano, they can do other things easier. So piano, and I was a classically trained singer. But basically, what I do when I go to the preschools is I introduce a new instrument maybe every 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Oh,
So those that I can't really play well, I can functionally play enough to introduce to the children and let them have a hands-on experience trying the cello or the French horn or any other instrument like that.
right. And now, so as far as your entertainer side, like the Mr. B show, I know you do parties
Right.
and other events, private parties for children, and tell us a little bit about that.
It's kind of like a Gallagher for kids. Okay, basically, I like to go do parties with kids, and most of the time it's with a child that I would know or not know. But the birthday parties for kids they're just fun. You focus on the child's birthday, it is, and you just go where they want to go. You keep music going. I usually would bring a lot of instruments, so that at some point in time, if it's 30, 40 kids, we can play 6 or 7 different instruments.
Got it.
It's just children are so it's like alive. Everything is live with them, and their attention span could go anywhere from 15 minutes to 5 hours.
Right.
It's
right.
just so you
Just
have to be
depends.
prepared. Yeah, you just have to be prepared to do that. Yeah.
Now, what is your dream for Mr. B? What do you see that going?
I would not have said this at the age of 30, but now that I'm 32, I will say that I grew up in Philadelphia, and we had a lady named Sally Starr on television. And that made me think about Howdy Doody, which made me think about Hank Keachum, who was Captain Kangaroo, which goes back to Mr. Rogers, which goes back to the native Philadelphia Bill Cosby. I see how all these grown-ups basically kept with kids their whole life. And I want to do a live children's show. I don't want to call it yeah, you know what? It is a reality show because it's turn the camera on for 23 minutes and don't turn it off. You know, no edit, no anything, just let the kids be kids. I want to have a Mr. B Playhouse.
Yeah.
Where the kids come in and for 20, 25 minutes a day, we just have a little set format where, you know, we warm up, we sing, and then I show instruments, tell us stories, but just an outline. There's nothing more real to me than playing off of the responses of children and watching their faces. You know?
Yeah, respond.
Yeah, watching them respond, watching them get it or not get it, watching them dance. Everybody has their own little dance. It keeps me kind of, it's like when I left the hotel business, which was a great business for me because I did learn a lot about professionalism and how to handle things professionally. I learned how to do a market share before I went out and decided that Mr. B could pay my mortgage.
Right.
You know, I had to do a market share on that. But once I did all of that, it was like I just wanted to get back to being real every minute of every day. And that's the way children are. And I can't, you know, if you go to a school, Caroline, and you tell a child you're not feeling well today, they'll look at you and say, okay, so what are we gonna do? They don't, you know, you're there. If you're there, you're there. You have to just play with them.
Right.
And that's the beauty. And so I really want to do it, public television, cable television. I want to do a children's show where we have a different group of kids every day, every week, or whatever, and we just turn on the cameras and just play.
Well, awesome.